Practical task 1. Create a decorator function, time decorator, which has to calculate a decorator function execution time and put this time value to execution time dictionary, where k is decorated function name and value as the function execution time. And here is, for example, time decorator, colon decorator, define the function a and b and just sleep for 2 seconds, 0.2 seconds, and return the a plus b. Here we execute call the function 10 and 20 and result is 30, and here we check our time, execution time, and we got the time. Time can be different in every execution. From typing we import dictionary and we import the time here. We define execution time dictionary here, string as a k and float as a value. And here and here is our decorator, time decorator. We pass our function, and here is our wrapper. This is our template. We learned it a bit earlier. Here, our decorator, our wrapper, and our everything related to our code. We can call the function, we print out something. Okay, here's our wrapper. We get arguments and k works. Okay, there's our start time. We create new variable start time and we start the time. We get the time here, and here we create new variable result and assign our function with arguments and kW arguments and keywords. And we define a new variable result and assign function with args and keywords. Okay, and here we create new variable and time and get the current time. Because this is a dictionary, we will get the function name as a unique name for k and save the execution time, just end time minus start time, because end time minus start time, this is time that was and this will result the time that our function executed, and simply we will return the result as our function. And wrapper created called the decorator, time decorator, and function at a and b. Just sleep time for time.sleep 0.2 seconds and return the a plus b. Here we can test it. Print our function 10 and 20. We are passing the values and the result should be 30, and here we are printing out execution time and with the k function because our function name is functional. If we change this to my function, here should be also my function, here should be also, yeah. Let's test it. Python.3 task1 and .py. Hit enter, you can see the result at 30 and execution time is 0.20507 and etc. How this dictionary works, for example, let's say execution time equals to dictionary, and here we got our function. In our case it's my function, and here will be time. In our case it's a float and this is a string. Let's move on. Practical task 2. Write a decorator which logs information about calls of decorated function, values of its arguments, values of keyword arguments, and execution time. Log should be written to a file. Example of using log decorator and define foo function with arguments a, b, c. Here we call the function 1, passing the 1, 2, and 3, and log should be written in log.txt file. Like here is the example: function name, arguments a, b, keywords c equals 3, and execution time 0.12 seconds. How we can implement this? Firstly, let's call the time because we will use execution time, and then define a decorator log and gets the function, our original function. Here our wrapper is arguments and keywords. Let's define a file path as log.txt and start the time here. We are getting here current time, get current time, and run the function. While function will be executed, count time. It will count the time, and then we will create new variable end time, and again get current time. And how we can get the execution time? Just simply end time minus start time. We can get the execution time, difference of the time while the function was executed. And let's define argument string with to get A and B, and keyword string to get C here. Because keyword is dictionary, we will use items, and arguments is just pass it one by one. We can use zip and just iterate our arguments. But here we should use items because it's a dictionary. Okay, and just with open file path as a write w sf file, we can name is file, of course, here, and here also change as file, like with open, like let's open file, this file as a file, and then write to this file function name here, arguments and keyword, arguments and keyword here, and then execution time from here, execution time, and simply now return the result is our function and wrapper. Now we can call the decorator, create a new function abc, and print out. Let's print out cool. Now we can run this. Let's run this. Python 3 task 2.py. Hit enter, we got 6, and let's check the log. Here we have a log. Function name, arguments A and B, keywords C, and execution time 9.5367, and etc. Let's move on. Practical task 2. Practical task 3. Create a decorator validate which validate arguments in set pixel function. All function parameters should be between 0 integer and 256 integer inclusive. In case if all parameters are valid, set pixel function should return pixel created message. Otherwise, it should return the function call. It's not a valid message. Okay, use function tools wraps where it's necessary. Don't forget about doc strings. Doc strings. Okay, here is example. Set pixel 0 1 to 7 300, and function call is not valid because 300 is more than 256. And here is another example. Set pixel 0 1 to 7 250, and this is valid. All of them is less than 256. Okay, we got the message pixel created. let's create define a validate decorator and paste the function here and wrapper with arguments. And now we should iterate our arguments or these values. For argument and arguments, if argument less than 0 or argument more than 256, we should return function call is not valid, because it should be more than 0 and less than 256. Otherwise, we just return our function with arguments, function and arguments, and then return the wrapper. That's it. Call the validate decorator and define a set pixel, integer, x integer, y integer, and z integer. And it will return the string as a message, return pixel created. Okay, let's test it. Call the function, paste the values 0, 127, 300, and print out the results. Let's try out second example. And now let's run this 3.py. And here we get the result. Function call is not valid because 300 is more than 256. And in the second example, we got pixel created because all of the values are more than 0 but less than 256. And here is the practical task for Decorators factory. Create a Decorators factory decorator itself, and the decorator accepts a function lambda as an input and returns a decorator that will return the result of function as a first argument. The result of decorated function is passed. The function which the factory accepts in example below, it's a lambda, can take one positional parameters only. For example, decorator and lambda user ID plus 1, and define a function return user ID with integer num and return the num. Okay, let me quickly fix this. Okay, here we go. Let's print out this. Okay, let's define a decorator apply decorator argument with decorator argument. Define a decorator apply with decorator argument and decorator itself function and wrapper arguments and keywords. Return decorator argument here. So our function with passing the arguments and keywords. Return and then return the wrapper and then decorator. It's the same as here. It's the same as we have a decorator. And decorator arguments and function with function arguments. Okay, now call the decorator and user is user ID plus 1. We will increment user ID by 1, and let's define a function return user ID with variable num and integer. It's parameter num and integer. Let's define a return user ID function. Let's define a function return user ID with num and return integer. As you can see here, it will increment by 1 here. Okay, let's call the function return user ID and pass the for each, and let's print this out. Here we can see the result 43. As you know here, it will increment by 1 user ID.